Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. We have had an update regarding the server meshing tests. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you for the support, it is truly appreciated. And if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So, we have a pretty thorough update regarding the results and plans for the tech preview tests regarding server meshing and the RMQ from Cloud Imperium. And today I would like to break this post down and talk about what else is coming in regards to Alpha 3.24.1 and Alpha 3.24.2 as well. So firstly, they have now deployed the RMQ tech, being the replication message queuing tech, across all 3.24.1 shards, meaning that starcitizen no longer runs on the old NMQ. And with the RMQ, this was created to significantly improve bandwidth efficiency and maintain security for the game's servers, clients, and replicants. Now, this also aims to prevent major networking bottlenecks that we experience as basically prolonged interaction delays affecting multiple users simultaneously. And this tech was needed pretty much after the first tech preview test back in March this year, when they discovered a critical flaw with the NMQ. So they set about developing the RMQ. And with the RMQ now in place, we have seen 2 more tech preview tests, which I will go over in a second, but the objective of these tests, as stated by Cloud Imperium, are to, number 1, identify areas needing optimizations to achieve low latency replication at scale with the game and real players. Number 2 is to pinpoint game features and game environments that require adjustments for high player count. Number 3 is to uncover any bugs related to server transition, server recovery, and other quirks introduced by the mesh setup. And then finally, the last one is to confirm changes and improve the game experience at higher player counts from a networking point of view. Plus, it says that they're also aiming for a rapid iteration cycle to test their corrections and optimizations to ensure progress at each step without interference from other changes to the game, and their goal is to conduct weekly tests until it is time to rejoin the main dev branch for the 4.0 PTU waves. But they will only proceed to a tech preview test each week if they have sufficient changes and improvements validated for us all to play. Now, this is great to hear that they are planning to progress this really quickly with the intention of getting it to the BTU as quick as possible, but only when it's ready and when there's enough to really warrant a new test. Now, the testing pattern for these tech preview tests will be just like we saw with the previous tests, starting out with a single shard and 100 players, just to validate that there are no new problems, and then they will expand to a mid-sized configuration, for example, around 3 dedicated game servers, 500 players, and then up to a larger configuration around the numbers like 6 DGS and 1,000 players. And then as usual, they will eventually pull it back to a comfortable player cap and server amount based on performance, and leave the test open for a few hours so that more players can experiment and they can actually capture some more data. Which, as we have seen, they start out small and then over time they push it up to the absolute limitations where things break, intentionally pushing it to that point just so they can get the best data, and then they scale it back to a good spot where it is stable but with the increased player count and server count. And as we saw on the first test, they settled around 4 DGS with, I think, 350 players. And then on the second test, after a few optimizations, they got 4 dedicated game servers and 500 players. So I am very intrigued to see where the third test will get to. How many players, how many DGS are they going to use? And if it's quick iterations, we could see them getting to around the 1,000 player mark, while keeping things pretty playable quite quickly, I would think. Now, talking of playtests, there is a new tech preview test expected this week, and as of the last test, which happened on the 19th of September, Cloud Imperium noted that that test on the 19th was the first test with the legacy NMQ completely stripped out, and upon doing so, they were then able to implement the optimizations that allowed them to increase the player count while maintaining stability before the interaction delay grew and it became unplayable. This test, they say, also allowed them to start seeing more gameplay related issues as players were able to properly spread around the game world more, and it helped them to identify additional issues present, and they say they walked away from this test feeling very optimistic. Now, here is a list of issues that they observed, of which will be addressed as they push forwards. Firstly, zoning in and out times were still problematic at higher player counts. There aren't enough XL gateways for players with the XL hangars to spawn in, leading to ATC queues being very high. The social systems are still tied to per game server and not game shard, causing channels to be empty, but this work will be done for 4.0, not for the tech preview channel, so that they don't introduce any large changes that could cause clashes. Higher player count and markers are a usability and visibility issue and have a performance cost on the client. The legacy and interaction delays went up in the 1,000 player test, where clear new performance optimization hotspots were found, which they say is the focus for the next test. And there was also a hybrid crash that would cause a 30k error sporadically in a meshing setup, which they say is also the focus for the next test. Now they go on to say that the missions won't be working on the tech preview test, as the mission system is currently being refactored for server meshing, and this will come with 4.0 on the PTU when it's ready. Plus, several other game systems, like for example the social system, are also being adjusted for server meshing. But again, we won't see any of that on this tech preview build. It'll be on the PTU builds that we see those get sorted, so they don't break the tech preview builds, as they are testing very specific tech here and not necessarily the game systems. Now to finish with, he says that while these early results are a promising step forward, we are aware that challenges remain. We are committed to tackling each hurdle through rapid iteration and always aim to improve your gaming experience, and he just said a big thank you to everyone who has helped test so far. Now it is great news to hear that they are aiming to push out new tech preview tests each week until they have the system working as good as they require it, at which point it'll then enter into the PTU for the Evocati and go through the necessary waves from there as it gets ready for prime time, for live. Now the important thing to remember here is that there is no dates. We don't know how long it's going to take, but they are going to push to get it ready for 4.0, at which point it'll come to the PTU and then we can all start testing it properly. Now this means we are not far off at all, but we could still be a few weeks or even a month or two until we see a PTU. It really depends on just how smooth things go. I am sure that they are aiming to get it out as soon as it's ready, as soon as possible, ideally around CitizenCon, or at least be in the PTU for CitizenCon, but only time will tell if that is possible. Now, clearly there is still a lot to do, but with them specifically saying that they will tackle each hurdle through rapid iteration, they are not slowing down. And this is kind of it now. It is onwards to getting this tech optimized enough to be ready for a proper build and then see what the impact is as more and more players get in and start playing it. I obviously hope that everything goes smoothly, but as usual with this extremely important tech, it can impact a lot of things and a lot of people, and there will most certainly be issues that get revealed with larger numbers. But let us hope that they are minimal at best, and I am so ready to get on in 4.0 and see this monster of a milestone patch finally come to fruition. Now I also really love and appreciate this level of communication from Benoit from Cloud Imperium. This is going to be so important going forwards, especially with how impactful this patch is going to be, as communicating like this will give us a much better idea of how it's all going and what they're doing to sort the issues. So hopefully we can hear from Benoit and others at Cloud Imperium more throughout this period as we approach pretty much the biggest patch for Star Citizen for however long it takes to roll out. And on a side note, there is a new hotfix patch on the way for Alpha 3.24.1. I think it should be out already by the time this video is done. It was supposed to drop a couple of days ago, and this patch brings help with blockade runner ships missing cargo, plus other fixes to help the landing zone freight elevators stop getting stuck loading content. They are also aiming to publish a 3.24.2 Evocati build. Now, they tried last night to get one, but it wasn't greenlit. There was an issue with it that they had to hold off on it, and they will plan to release that today, a little earlier than normal. So hopefully we see that come to life, as there is going to be so many cool features in that patch. Initially with the Evocati, it is just going to be stability testing, so we're not really going to be looking at Zeus and MFDs and things, because that's not the focus right now. But there is so much going on, and I suppose the TLDR of this video is there is a new hotfix patch for 3.24.1 that should be out already, hopefully fixing some of the bugs that we're suffering with now. EVA PTU will be starting soon with 3.24.2, bringing eventually the Zeus, the MFDs, and a lot more, and there will be almost weekly tech preview tests with significant improvements each time until server meshing RMQ tech is ready for 4.0, at which point it'll be integrated into the 4.0 build for internal QA until that is greenlit for the EVA CATI, and then further waves from there until it's on live. So very exciting times. But that is it for this video. A big thank you to Cloud Imperium for actually putting that information out there and letting us know what is happening. I will cover all the changes and all the patches as they come along, so if you do appreciate that, please do consider subscribing. Also, come and hang out over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother, having a great time over on 3.24.1, doing a bit of salvage, looking for that organic gameplay. Also, hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members for making these videos possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.